Hello to everyone who's watching and welcome to a new Crochet Realm video. My old jade blue dress just got a new look. Initially it was all made in this stitch pattern, but because I am constantly looking to get better at my crochet, I'm always finding myself improving old ideas or designs into new ones. That's exactly what happened to this dress. But long story short, a lot of you are asking for a written pattern for this dress. I honestly don't have the time to write one, so I decided to make a video on how I made this very dress from start to finish. All right, let's talk about the materials. I use crochet thread when I make the garments that I make, so for this dress I'm going to be using just that. In my stash I had Aunt Lydia size 10 thread, and I had also Artist. And the secret with the dress lies in the shades of the same color. Let's say, well, for this one I picked the blue color, so I'm gonna need 4 shades of this color, starting with the darkest, which is navy, and this is gonna be the basic color of the dress, and you're gonna need about 10 to 11 skeins like that, and then just one ball or skein of the other shades that you chose. For me, it's blueberry, and then it's cornflower and ice blue. The colorful motifs, of course, are not going to use a whole skein of these colors, but if you have leftovers for the colors you chose, then you can use some leftovers, that's fine. Other materials you're going to need are 2 crochet hooks. This is for the basic work, for your general work on the dress, and it's a 1.5 millimeter hook. It's also suggested on the label of the threads, and a much smaller one for weaving in the ends. I like to weave in the ends with a smaller crochet hook, and for me 0.75 millimeter works just fine. Scissors and stitch markers, colorful and lots of them if you can afford. To talk a little bit about the sizing of the dress, I never follow a size chart when I make my garments. I always use my own body as an example. I crochet a piece and then I try it on, I see if it fits, if it doesn't, if it's too large, if it's too small, and then I just adjust if I need. So that's the same way I started this dress. I crocheted a foundation chain long enough to cover my entire waistline, and in this particular case the line starts, it's 3.5 inches up from your belly button. So that's the line that I need you to measure, or when you're gonna crochet the foundation chain, you're gonna have to put it around that invisible line and see how many chain stitches you get. The funny thing about this dress is that I always thought that it is an extra small or even a small size dress. Why? Because it fits so well my mannequin, which is an extra small. I fall under this medium size according to my waistline, which is 30 inches. So I got a little bit confused, and then I got to measure things. So if I measure the starting point of our dress, because that's where we're gonna start the work, it gives me 13.5 inches per one side. So doubled, that would give me 27 inches. So that falls somewhere between a small and a medium size. Now I will consider that it's fine. I still fall next to a medium, so that's okay. Now look what happened. I crocheted a new piece here, and I'm gonna put it on the dress just for you to see the difference. So see the difference, this one is bigger than the actual dress. Now don't forget, the dress was washed unworn before, and this one is new. This one, nothing happened to it yet. So if I measure this thing, it gives me 15 inches, exactly 15 inches per this side. So that doubled will be 30 inches around. So that still gives me the medium size that is here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use these numbers for all the other sizes to make the calculations to get you started with a foundation chain. Okay, you will know how many chain stitches you need to start your work with. But I cannot say anything about the gauge vertically because this, let's say this is one pattern repeat, gives me 1 inch and 1/4. On the dress, if I measure this from line to line, gives me 1.5 inches. On the mannequin, when I put it, this thing is totally larger, so I'm not sure what to tell you. I'm just gonna have you do what I did with this dress when I started it. You're just gonna crochet a piece and then you're gonna try it on and you're gonna see whatever, if you need to continue repeating the patterns or if you need to stop and you're gonna have to start working the shoulders. That will be individually for large and extra large sizes. For the medium sizes and before that, like extra small, small and medium, you can easily follow this pattern, this dress, because it will sit perfectly on you either way. Before I show you my calculations for all the sizes based on my gauge, I need to talk a little bit about the stitch pattern. So this is the stitch pattern. I use crochet charts. I do not like written patterns. For me, it's a lot easier to follow a crochet chart, and if you don't know how to follow in this video, you might learn because I will explain every step. So one pattern repeat vertically is 6 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now horizontally, this would be one pattern repeat, or it will have one popcorn. I always call the pattern repeats popcorns because one pattern repeat contains a popcorn in it. So one pattern repeat is 8 stitches or 4 cells. Each cell is double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. So 4 times, and that gives you 8 stitches. These rows are going to be worked in the round. That's why a pattern repeat is 8 stitches. Now to the calculations I made for your sizes based on my gauge, remember. So here it is. 8 stitches, which is 4 cells, or 1 popcorn, is 3/4 of an inch. 6 rows or 1 pattern repeat is 1 3/8 inches. But this is just an example. I would not use it to find how many pattern repeats you need for your dress, okay? And 1 square motif laid flat on the table, it's 4 inches and 3/4. If it's on the mannequin, it's 5 inches. So really it's by the eye probably. Now based on my gauge, the formula to find out how many pattern repeats you need is this. The waistline multiplied by this 4 and divided by 3 gives you the number of pattern repeats or popcorns, and then each pattern repeat is 8 stitches. So let's see. An extra small is 24 inches around multiplied by 4, and then that number you divide by 3 and it gives you 32 pattern repeats. And at the waistline they will need 5 motifs based on this, but we'll talk about it later. Now 32 pattern repeats, you have to multiply by 8 stitches in order to find out how many chain stitches you need for your foundation chain, and that gives you 256 chain stitches for the extra small, okay? Now, small size will need 280 chain stitches as a starting point. It will have 35 pattern repeats. Medium, that's what I'm going to show you in this video. That's my size, and we will start it off with 320 chain stitches or 40 pattern repeats. Size large, it's 34 inches for the waistline. Made the calculations, gives you 45 pattern repeats and 360 chain stitches for your foundation chain. You notice that I added the number of square motifs you're going to need around at the waistline. So for S, you're gonna need 6 motifs. For medium, also 6. For large, you already need 7 motifs. And for extra large, you're going to need 400 chain stitches for your foundation chain and 8 square motifs or 50 pattern repeats. Since I will show you the dress only for the M size, the other sizes I will try to help you figure out the number of picots that join to the body of the dress on top of the picot and on top of the motif and at the bottom of the motif, but it will take me some time, and that will probably be somewhere at the end of the video. Okay, now let's read the chart. This is a chain stitch, foundation chain, and then chain stitches we have here, and then practically in every row we have chain stitches, and then a double crochet stitch. This is going to be for a single crochet stitch. This is a 3 double crochet cluster. It is in the second row of our stitch pattern. Okay, this is the cluster right here. And this, in the chart, I have a 7 double crochet popcorn, or a popcorn made out of 7 double crochets. This is an old chart, it's my chart, it's my design, whatever, but in this dress I will be using a popcorn out of 5 double crochets. So if you want to copy this chart, just write here a 5 so you don't get confused. If you want to make a 7 double crochet popcorn, be my guest, but I will be making 5 double crochets here. About the construction of the dress. The dress is made in 3 major steps. So the first one is going to be the top part of the dress. The second one is going to be the skirt part of the dress. And then the top and the skirt are going to be joined together by the square motifs. Okay? On all the sides. So here on the top side of the motif, he's going to be motif with motif joined, and then on the bottom part of the motif, and then motif to motif. Around, we'll have 6 motifs. Before we start the foundation chain, I have something to mention. If you choose to go with these numbers that I provided based on the size chart that I showed you previously, then that's fine. You don't need to worry about anything else. But if you choose to work the foundation chain based on your own body, the way I did in the first time when I made the dress, then you need to make sure that this number, the foundation chain stitch number, has to be divisible first by 2. That will give you the number of cells that you have in total. And then this number of cells, you need to divide it by 4, and that will give you how many pattern repeats you will have around, just so you know. An example of why this information is important, because let's say that you made your foundation chain and you put it around your waistline where I told you to put it, and it gave you, for an example, 282 stitches. Now you need to divide this number by 2, and that is 141. So that's 141 cells. Now 141 cells obviously is not going to divide by 4, so that will not give you an exact number of cells. So let's see, 14 by 4, that's 3, 12, 21 by 4, that's 5. So that's 35 pattern repeats and 1 cell left. So you're gonna have to adjust this number to have an exact number of pattern repeats. It can be, the pattern repeats can be an odd number or an even, that's your choice. If you like to have an even number of pattern repeats, then you have to either go down 1 pattern repeat, let's say you need to have 34, or go up 36, and then you have to calculate like this: 36 pattern repeats multiplied by 4 by 4, that's 6 by 4, 24, 12, 144 gives you, no, yeah, it's 144, and then you have to multiply this by 2, and that will give you 288 stitches you're gonna have to have for your foundation chain as a starting point. That is if you're doing it customly for your own body, okay? Just so you know. I drew a little chart here. This chart is for myself to help me create this dress or to facilitate my working process. And let me explain to you what this chart is about. So these are obviously the square motifs, okay, that are going to be used to join the upper part and the bottom part of the dress. And this is a close-up of this line on top here. Imagine that this is the foundation chain of the top, and the first row of our basic stitch pattern requires a filet crochet row, which is done double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and it's worked in the round, okay? So first, since I have 160 cells around, I had to divide by 6 motifs, and I needed to divide them so in order to have the square motifs join this part here perfectly, okay? So since every motif has 10 picots in the last row, I had to divide these cells into sections of 27 cells for the first motif, 26 cells for the second motif, 27 again for the third and fourth, and then 26 cells for the fifth motif and 27 cells for the last one, for the sixth one. So the first representation is for the motif that will join a section of 27 cells, and the second representation is for the motif that will join the section for 26 cells. Now you see here 1/10, so this is going to be the first picot when we start the work. It also will be, this one for example is going to be the 10th, and then also it's going to be the first from the next section, okay? So don't let it confuse you. This is the same picot as this, and this is the same picot as this, okay? So like I said, for my size, I'm gonna need 320 chain stitches with the basic color that I chose for the dress, for the entire dress. I'm gonna start my foundation chain and work 320 stitches. So I have 10 here, and I'll just keep going until I have all of them. I've done my 320 stitches, and now I want to join this with a slip stitch in the first chain, of course, to form a circle, a big circle. Be careful not to twist the foundation chain when you join it. And let's start working these picots, these rows with picots. So they are drawn here on the bottom of the foundation chain because that's what I initially planned on doing, but I'll just move them mentally up here and I'm just gonna crochet them on top of this row. Okay, so let's start. We're gonna start with 27 cells, a section of 27 cells, and that means I have to follow this graph. First double crochet is going to be replaced with 3 chain stitches. Okay, so there we go. 1, 2, 3. That's our first double crochet. We need to have a picot right on top of that double crochet. My picots are always done out of chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch into this third chain from hook. Unfortunately, the yarn is too dark, but I see it. I hope you see it. So that's your picot, okay? And then looking at this chart, you have to work a chain 1 next, okay? Chain 1, and on the bottom you're gonna skip a chain 1, which is this one here. You're gonna skip this and you're gonna work a double crochet into the next chain stitch to create your first cell, like this, okay? Now, having this, for the 27 cells, we have 10 picots. That gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sections of 3 cells and a picot. Okay, can you do that? Like, work 3 cells, and on the double crochet that ends the 3rd cell, work a picot for 9 times. All right, so that's chain 1, and then skip 1 and double crochet into the next chain. That will give you your 2nd cell. Okay, chain 1, skip 1 stitch at the bottom, double crochet into the next one. That gives you a 3rd cell, the 3rd cell. So this is where you need to work your 2nd picot, right on top of this double crochet. Again, chain 3, and this picot, I'm not gonna slip stitch it into the 3rd chain, but right into the double crochet stitch, into these 2 front bars. Okay, slip stitch here, and the picot looks right on top of the double crochet, just like I need it to be. Keep going like this for 8 more times, all right, until you have 10 picots.